I got to eat dinner. I ain't had no dinner yet. I ain't ate my dinner yet.
Doors of the Love Church are now open. Dear world, you name it, we cover it from the world of singles to the behind the scenes of the greatest movie ever filmed, called Marriage. We dig into everything from dating 101. Why won't they commit? It's complicated. I can't do it if it's the three of us. They're a good person, but I'm not attracted to them in that way. 2, they really didn't disclose who they were before I said I do. How do I do this if they can't keep a job? The bills are paid, but the bedroom is suffering. Did I marry you or did I marry your family because we only can take care of us? Let's open up our marriage. Why do I have to buy into your beard gang illusion? You could have told me you were down low and we could have remained friends and not married. And last but not least, did you marry me or your pastor? Have we gotten your attention yet? If so, tune in to Unique Perspectives Love Talk Radio, Thursday at 4:30 p.m. Central Standard Time, if you want to hear more of today's real issues in the world of love. The doors of the Love Church are now open.
Bling.
All right. Greetings, everyone, and welcome to Unique Perspectives Love Talk Radio. I'm your host, Charles Dixon, and I'm here with my co-host, Mr. Adam Ford. How are you, sir?
What's up, fam, on this Thursday afternoon? I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good.
Yes.
All
You
right.
know, we're doing the rush hour now. This is rush hour time. You know
what, dude? Whatever, man.
rush hour time. No, we appreciate people for being flexible, those that were able to kind of catch this one. I know we usually do the 4:30, but we appreciate those that were able to make the adjustments to tune in today.
Absolutely.
All right. Let's see. By way of, I guess, current events, I don't, not too much is how, I guess the world is the world. Everything is everything, and things are I just think it's important for everybody to be vigilant today. You know, what I was going to say, man, I'm hearing about so many terrible outcomes with relationship conflict. People are like, you hear about people. I mean, nowadays things are so final. There was once upon a time where if you lived in an apartment and upstairs, you'll hear them hollering and fussing at each other, and then it's quiet, right? Or look, you may have even had them times, baby, you think they're okay? Let's call the police. You know, every now and again, right? But for the most part, you heard conflict, it was over. Nowadays, conflict is ending in death. And people are getting angry and mad, and as they say now, crashing out. And they literally shooting each other, stabbing. It's just like, where did we get to this point that we're so final in our resolve when it comes to rejection or relationship ending, or look, even somebody cheating? Okay, God forbid, nobody likes the feeling of being blindsided by infidelity, right? But it happens. We're human beings. It happens, and nobody likes to think of it. But, you know, and there is no patent. Nobody has a patent at the patent office about how to use a specific model every time you get cheated on, and you'll be healed in a week. There is no there is no thing to this. Everybody has a different way of dealing with it. Some people, their friends rally around them. Some people are going to go out here, do this. Some people just want to go in their house and close the door and be left alone in the dark. Everybody has their method, right? But killing someone is just not the answer. It's just not. Killing is not. None of this is that serious, right? To go to that extent to, I guess, to feel like I won. You didn't beat me. I won. How dare you think you're going to choose somebody else and you will not live to be with them? That's the way we are nowadays. It's just like, it's scary. It's scary at the thought of even like your children dating, the thought of them getting to the point where they're dating in this kind of world where people are thinking like that. It's just like, man.
Yeah. I mean, and I definitely get what you're saying. I think sometimes we, as a society, at least nowadays, I think we lack a lot of the tools necessary to deal with rejection, to deal with trauma that occurs within our relationships. And I think even nowadays it's more along the lines of, "Ooh, we're gonna be together forever," but we don't have the tool set to deal with what if we aren't together forever? What if we
Mm,
do break up? What if you do reject me? And how do you handle that particular situation? And we've seen so many examples of people who, again, who don't know how to handle it in the wrong way. And I think some of
mm,
us, if we're honest, we come from families, where mom and dad were divorced, and all that kind of thing happened. And we saw how mom dealt with it. We saw how dad dealt with it. And we've taken a variation of that, and we've somehow adopted that mechanism to deal with it, even if it wasn't a healthy mechanism in
yeah,
terms of how to deal with rejection. And I think we need to really take a step back and really kind of honestly look at these things and say, okay, everything's not going to always go my way. And I think if we're honest, this is something that we have to come to terms with. Everything is not going to always go
go
my way.
my way. Yeah,
So, how am I going to handle this?
yeah,
What tools do I have at my disposal? What emotional tools,
to deal with this.
mental tools do I have at my disposal that are going to help me and facilitate my recovery in terms of dealing with this type of situation?
Yeah,
Because taking somebody's life is not the solution. As a
yeah,
matter of fact, it creates a far larger problem with
yeah,
far greater consequences. You know what
yeah,
I'm saying? You never want to get to that point. So you have to develop tools that will enable you
yeah,
to deal with your rejection or the trauma that you're experiencing in your life in a healthy way that
yeah.
will bring some healing to your life so that you can pick up and move on to the next phase.
Yeah, I think another thing that we do subconsciously, or maybe let me not give people grace. Sometimes we do it purposefully, but one unhealthy characteristics I think we have picked up in relationships is it's like we have this extreme sense of ownership and
Mm,
control
wow.
over somebody. Now, don't get
Yeah,
me wrong.
that's yeah.
People have different thoughts when it comes to getting married. You know, people will be like, well, this is mine and I'm going to kill for mine. And, you know, you hear all kinds of things
Right.
when it comes to marriage. But even at the relationship place, it's not that you're not in a commitment or that the relationship is not growing or should be growing. But
Mhm.
you still got both people have to be in reality to say, this is my partner. We chose to be committed, but I don't have any rights on them. I
Yeah.
don't own them. I
Right.
don't control them. So I think when we have that kind of mindset, and when people disappoint us like they're prone to do because we're human,
Mhm.
that's when we get in that posture of, oh, that's what you're doing. I'm gonna pull up in a minute. I'm gonna show you. And it's just like,
Wow.
I mean, it's like, man, like just like the pastor. There was a pastor in Memphis this past week that
Mhm.
got killed
I heard about
because
that. Yeah.
he was out or whatever, and the girl, I guess the alleged girlfriend was out with him at this place bar, and
Mm.
so when it comes outside after it was over, people saw them arguing in the club, and when it comes outside, they're arguing on the front, and I think they said he did whatever gesture he did, he smacked the phone out of her hand, the phone hit the ground, and they were tussling, and then she pulls the gun out and killed him right there outside the place. So, and then there was another thing I heard of this lady. This lady was and this guy was a couple of weeks ago. The lady and the guy was in Houston. And so he has this woman that they're like living together, and I guess they were engaged or what have you.
Mhm.
He goes to some female house down in Florida to see some guy, I guess he met online. She
Okay.
didn't know it, of course, initially until, women have these magical powers, Adam. They get to be like, you know what?
Magical powers,
Tells me
dude.
he's on the train. I'm getting on there too.
Wow.
So to make a long story short, I don't know how women be having these magical powers. I'm gonna tell you something
Wow.
funny in a
Okay.
minute. But anyway, so they going down to Florida. They down in Florida, and she somehow, I guess the guy left his location on the phone. You know,
Okay.
I share your location. He
Yeah.
still had his location on The girl goes to Florida. And I'm like, well, even if he got a location, how do you know that's the door? Like
Right.
the girl lived in an apartment complex, but she went on down to Florida, knocked on the door, and was like, and when the girl answered the door, the girl blew her head off. Shot the girl, killed her right there in the apartment. And the guy sitting there looking dumb. She ain't shoot the guy, she shoot the girl.
Shoot the girl.
So not that she should have shot anybody, but the point is,
Right.
she don't know. In some cases, the women know about the other women. The guy may tell them, right? But in some cases, the woman is operating under a lie. The guy telling him, "Yeah, I'm trying to be about you." She don't know nothing about what he got in the background, so she's just a bystander. Right. I can see if you had some words and the girl was like, "Don't worry, he's gonna be with me. I don't care," And even then, again, nobody's life is worth being taken. But I can see like a tussle or confrontation. But to go down to somebody's house and kill them, like, wow, we in a whole different mindset today.
Yeah, well, it speaks to the mental health of people, man. It speaks to the mental health and emotional health of people in terms of how they deal with the situations in their lives. And again, just like I said, I think we lack a lot of the skills and the tools necessary to deal with adverse situations in a healthy way. Again, everything's not going to always go your way. You're not going to always get the job. Okay, you're not going to always get approval for the business loan. You're not going to always get the house. You're not going to always get the girl. You're not going to always get the guy. So how do you handle the reality of rejection? How do you handle not being accepted? And for you to go to that extreme, to take somebody's life as a result of your rejection and your trauma, is not the right way. And again, it speaks to where we are as a society in terms of us lacking the mental and emotional tools to deal with this in a more healthy way. And it's problem. And because again, these are the things that we know about. What are the things that we don't know about? What about situations that we aren't aware of where this kind of thing happens on a regular basis, man? This is
this is bad.
This is terrible. This is
which brings us to today's
terrible segue, but anyway.
Thank you. This brings us to today. Now that we're talking about this, Adam, here's the thing. It's actually a perfect segue because if you think about it, a lot of this behavior and these psychosis and these reactions are all a part of how the person opposite of us in our relationship sees us. How do you view me? And that's a question that many of us don't ask. We quick to say, "Do you love me?" It don't sound right. How do you really feel? We ask that, but we don't ask. We don't talk about this. But I want to ask you, how do you see me as a person in this relationship opposite of you? The person might say, "Why do you say that?" Well, some of my questions is based off how you treat me.
Right.
And some of my questions is based off what you withhold from me, what hasn't happened, what said was going to happen, and what seems to be at a stalemate. That's why I want to know, how do you feel about me? Or how do you see me, rather? And so today's show on tonight is called Blessing, Friend, Foe, or Fool. How does your partner really see you? It's really key. And the key things, I know somebody's probably saying, "Well, it don't matter how they see me." Oh, it matters. If you're concerned about your relational health in the relationship, and if there is an agenda to the relationship, as in where we're going, where we're not going, how you're seen governs all of that.
True.
And so let me start with this, and now you could jump in, Adam.
Go.
Let's start with a blessing. A person can see their partner as a blessing, but still because we are human and because we still are all prone to make mistakes, right? We can see someone as a blessing, but if someone means well to the person they see as a blessing, they'll hold up their end as long as their integrity allows them to, right? Integrity is the fuel that allows us to continue in a consistent, good, and appreciative posture towards somebody that's a blessing in our life. And when we make mistakes or when we do things that may be adverse to that blessing, then, you know, if you have the communication and the person feels the sincerity toward it, they can then be like, you know, that I didn't like that, I didn't appreciate that, but I do appreciate you confronting the issue and being honest with me. And you can continue to live on with someone that, like you said, you see as a blessing in your life. You know, in the scripture, Adam, if we're going briefly to the Bible, the Bible says, the blessings of the Lord maketh rich and addeth no sorrow. We're not just talking about money and the bag. Right. We're talking about your spirit is rich. Right. Your life is rich. Your being is rich. All things that come from being connected to this person work out for the good. Not to say there isn't any bad, but there are some things that you begin to say, you know what, my life has really changed in an unforeseen way since being connected to you. You know, because sometimes if you take an inventory of your life from the time somebody entered into it, that's a blessing, that is, to your present day, you are going to say to yourself, wow, that was a version of me back then when I received them that don't look the same today. It's different. I've grown, more polished, you know, because this person has been a blessing. That means they've always looked out for the good. They've always kind of tried to do whatever they could to shelter me from the adverse. But the main thing was, it's always working towards all things that are good. Yeah. Okay. What are your thoughts on the blessing concept?
I would agree with that. That you know, people can be blessings, and that we should see them as blessings, and that we should understand that to have somebody in your life that you're able to share your life with is a blessing. And that, you know, we should both be blessings to one another. It's interesting because I was sitting there thinking while you were talking, I see my wife as, and I often when I'm in my time of prayer, I often thank God that she is the grace of God to me. You know, I think about my life in terms of where I've been, and then, you know, having a marriage that failed and that whole situation. And so when it comes to her, I literally see her as the grace of God in my life in terms of getting another chance to do it right this time around, not to make the same mistakes that I made before. And so, you know, and here's the thing though. So it's not so much as what she does as it is how I see her.
Wow.
So the grace is not dependent upon anything that
what she does. Yeah.
It's just the fact that God allowed her to cross my path, and we came together and we had a connection with each other. That to me is grace, because again, it's something that I don't deserve. It's something that you know, I could have never worked for this. I could have never, you know, as in all of the searching high and low, here and there and everywhere, dating this one, dating that one, talking to this one, talking to that one. How would have I ever come across her?
You got to keep looking. But no, I'm just playing anyway. No.
But you know, I already knew you had it enough,
man. But no, I'm kidding with you, man.
I was like, watch this dude. Watch this dude mess up this moment right here. Watch him mess up this moment. I done built it up and everything.
This is a beautiful moment too. I had to mess it up.
That moment all up, just threw it to the ground. Anyway.
No, you spot on, man. And the thing I left out earlier was the thing about having a person in your life that's a blessing. Bless people that are blessings to our life. Again, they're not perfect people, but people that are blessings make even the crooked places in our life feel comfortable. Absolutely. Like we could be in a jacked up situation, but if you're, or we could have a jacked up plight, something is we got to deal with or live with or whatever. But when the person that's the blessing is around you,
Yeah.
They have a way of being able to tap into a space that causes you not to focus just on that.
Yes.
And when they cause you not to focus on that, it makes you say, you know what? That don't feel good, but you have a way of making it be like it is what it is,
Right.
and we're going to get through this anyhow.
Yeah.
And it changes the whole trajectory of things when you have somebody that I think when we have somebody in our life that we deem a blessing, it causes you, like I said that time before, to reconsider how you treat them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
Because it's easy to mistreat someone.
Yeah.
But when you see them as, wait, man, blessings don't come every day.
Right.
You're not going to meet this kind of man or woman every day. So you need to be mindful of how you tread around them, how you treat them, speak to them, ignore them, whatever the case is. Because it's easy for us to get in our own ways and just say, man, they deal with the repercussions. I don't care. They deal with the debris. I'm feeling the way today. But when you think about it and you say, wait, that person doesn't deserve that because they've been really good to me. You know what I'm saying? So I can't even be funny with them because this person I found they don't give me no issue. So I have, they're not trying to disrespect me or make me feel like I'm, not special in any kind of way. So when you have that, the key is though, many of us for years have overlooked and disregarded blessings. We've had people come into our lives at different points or whatever, and it's key to get to a place of maturity to be able to get over those superficial things that we have and say, you know what, this person is good for me. It's good for my life.
Yeah.
And let that ride that out. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I don't think there's anything wrong with it. And I always try to make sure that I do this on a more regular basis. And I know she does as well. And that is just really being thankful to one another for being in each other's life. Again, in my time of prayer, I'm grateful to God that he allowed her and I to meet. Because it could have been anybody else if you really think about it.
Yeah.
If you think about the probabilities of what could have possibly happened, who else I possibly could have met in the interim, but he allowed her specifically to cross my path on the internet, on a dating site. Of all the people that I could have met, I met her at that particular point in time. Again, this is why I consider it to be the literal grace of God that entered in and presented this thing. And I'm like, okay, this ain't nothing but God. What can I can't do nothing with this. And every day I'm grateful. I'm thankful. You know what I'm saying? And again, when you realize, here's the thing though, too, I'm gonna flip it, I'm gonna let it go. When you realize how you are and your stuff and how you think about things, and you got some rough edges on you. You got some quirks. You got some dents.
Yeah. some faded paint.
You got a few more extra miles on you, and you realize who this person is and what they are in your life. You're grateful.
Yeah.
And anytime I get a blessing, I'm thankful. Anytime I get a blessing, I'm like, man, I know I didn't deserve this. I could not have worked for this. And so I'm grateful for this person being in my life. How dare I not be grateful for you? And here's the thing though, Charles. So the reality is that she's still a human being. She's not perfect, but she's perfect for me. You know what I'm saying? We have our moments. We have our moments of heated discussions. You know, we done talked about this before, arguments or whatever. But that does not mean that she's still not the grace of God to me.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying. So that's how I see it. That's how I see it.
That's good. That's what we're doing. Yeah. All right. So so we talked about what it's like and characteristics of someone either seeing you as a blessing or you seeing them as a blessing. So let's talk about what it is to see someone or someone to see you as a friend within the relationship and within the love. It's a different spin. So, okay, friends from my perspective, they remain in your life because they realize they can't live without loyalty. When people want to tap into the friendship perspective of a relationship, it's because they're looking for something deeper. You know, we can all say we together, that's my person, that's my husband, that's my man, my woman. But until you have that friendship, that's when the relationship can grow to a deeper space. And the friendship within relationship is really when a person sees you as someone they can sow into.
Okay.
I can tell you about my sensitive spots. I can consider you a safe space within our love parameters. Because some people are with people, Adam, and they're with them by title and role, but they're not with them emotionally because there's no friendship.
Wow.
And because there's no friendship there, all the secrets are out in the street. The secrets are the friends, the other male or female that listens knows, but the person that should know don't know because there's no friendship.
There's no friendship.
And so it's key to know when you're in a relationship, and if we all are honest, you know when somebody deems you as a friend within the friendship, because they'll call you to talk about nothing just for nothing. They'll want to be around you even if nobody's talking. They be laying their head on your shoulder or your chest. It's just the fact that we together and I enjoy you, and there's something about the way I feel when I'm in your presence. And when we have friends, it's convenient to bounce things off them, that because we trust their input. We trust the things that they offer to our lives. So it's like, okay, yes, you're my spouse, or yes, you're my fiance or my person, but I see that we have a deeper friendship within our relationship. And that when you have that kind of relationship, it kind of minimizes all of the other things that we tend to get into because that lack isn't there. You know, a lot of people will say things like I used to hear people say this a lot when they would be in relationships, and they would say, you know, I know this is what we do, but I don't feel emotional. I don't feel you have my back emotionally. And I would be like, well, what does that mean? We in the relationship. Look, we in the marriage. What do you mean I don't have your back? I'm physically here. But what they're meaning is you're not allowing the bridge to connect, the friendship bridge. You're keeping the bridge from connecting. And because you're doing this, there's something lacking with us because you're not allowing the friendship to come to fruition. And that's not to say everybody's going to be best friends. And that's why that's a part of making our decisions at the onset. When we meet people, you got to know to yourself, do I feel I can connect to this person in that way? And if you don't, you got to be honest with yourself. If it's just physical, you know what you're going to get, right? But you got to be able to go beyond the physical and say, I like this person enough to connect on this level, and let it go from there.
Yeah, you know what's interesting, because I'm sitting here and I'm thinking about that thing, and yes, you have to. So the thing of it is, you have to be able to relate to your persons, and we'll get into this part further along down the conversation. But you have to be able to relate to your person on multiple levels, so it just can't be one dimensional in terms of how we relate to each other. And part of that is being able to be each other's friend. Now, granted, yes, we first got involved with one another because there was obviously a physical attraction and a romantic attraction. There was something there. The further along that we went, then we realized there was emotional attraction. And then we began to talk and conversate with one another. There was an intellectual attraction that occurred. But I find sometimes we neglect the aspect of friendship because it puts us in a place where now I have to put aside all of this other stuff, and I have to be committed to you in a way that does not involve my sexuality. We have to be friends. It will be interesting to take a survey for those who are married who are listening, to find out whether or not if your wife or if your husband is your friend. Now, we know that they are your spouse.
Yeah.
We know that,
They your person. Yeah.
right. At one point in time, they were your fiance. You were engaged and betrothed. But I would wonder, I would question whether or not if they are actually your friend. They're your lover. Okay, they're your lover. That part is, yeah, we see that part. But are they really your friend? Can you come and talk to them about anything, and they give you the support and the companionship you need as a friend?
Yeah.
Because this, again, I think we sometimes, and we kind of like conflate the two together, that automatically we should be friends.
Yeah, that's it.
We should be, but are we friends? Do I actually see you as my friend? Well, the question is, the thing is this: if I can come and talk to you about something other than our relationship, something that exists outside of our relationship, will you still have my back? Can I have a conversation with you without it being about the kids? Can I come and talk to you? Here's the other thing about friends. Friends enjoy each other's company.
That's it.
Do you enjoy, hey, about to mess somebody up, about to mess up some husbands and wives right now. Do you enjoy your spouse's company? Do you enjoy being with them? Do you like hanging around them? Can you just be sitting there watching TV and enjoying each other's company without it having to be something else?
Yeah.
This is the thing. This is the and that actually is a clear indication as to whether or not you see each other as friends. Because I can sit with my wife and we can sit and we can watch TV shows together, and then we can talk about this and we can talk about that, and then we can go out and we can hang out there. It ain't got to be no funny business going on. We just friends.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And again, because of the fact that we're not actually actively viewing them as friends, we kind of neglect that part.
Yeah.
And again, it kind of goes back to the conversation that we were having maybe a couple of shows back, whether or not if you actually like them, because part of friendship is being able to like the person that you're with. If I don't like Charles, then I'm not hanging out with Charles.
This
podcast doesn't happen if I don't like Charles, if he's not a brother like that. But if I do like Charles, then we spend time together. We talk to each other. If I love my wife and like my wife like I say that I do, it's not a problem. Why do I need to be uncomfortable? And it's funny though, right? Let's be real. Sometimes you with your partner, you with your spouse, you with your wife, you with your husband, and y'all both sitting there and you're uncomfortable.
Yeah. You know what I think we miss a lot, and you're bringing up some key points that I think we overlook at the exploration phase of most of our relationships.
Okay.
And it's not to say that two people, when they come together, you have to be twins to coexist.
Yeah, that's not it.
I'm gonna tell you a good meter to know where you are on the friendship plane with your person. The way both of you all look at a good time.
Right. Yeah.
When let's just say you at home with somebody, and sometimes you could be with somebody and their good time is being with you so much that it's whatever you suggest. We together, we're going to have fun because fun is us.
Exactly.
But then there are some people that will sit with you, and then you'll find yourself as a couple or a spouse saying, so what you getting ready to do? Well, me and Misha, we get ready to go over there because it's lit. And you saying to yourself, so you're not, so you have to see people, this is what they don't understand. When people have another area that they enjoy more than being around you, that's where a lot of trouble gets caught up at.
Right.
Because now where that place is, whoever's there, it's a connection point because we like the same atmosphere. Oh, this person liked to go over here because we hang out in the same places. I remember talking to different people over the years, and when they would always when you would hear them recanting their relationship stories or what had happened, you always hear those common things. And some of the common things you would say, well, you know, me and this person, we hang out at the same bar or the same areas. And so then that's when a person thinks to yourself, okay, let's think on some commonalities here. Are we aligning, right? Or we just together because we like each other and we're in a relationship? Because people really need to pay attention to the things that the partners feel is enjoyable to one another. And if you guys can't write to 10, and out of that 10, if you only see 2 things you like together, there's a problem. You need to, you're not going to like everything, but there needs to be a fair balance of things we consider enjoyable together, because that's what's going to cause us to grow. If we don't enjoy a lot of things and all we do is come home and undress and go to sleep, you may touch each other and then the person gone the next day to go do the things they actually like. That's a short-lived relationship. At some point, people are going to develop life and friendship outside of you. And so that's why it's important to discover, hey, are we enjoying one another? Do we feel safe enough to talk and deem each other friends? And I don't mean besties, but to the point where we are close enough to divulge things and feel trusted while we're doing it. You know, that's an important thing. And so I think it's something that we need to stop overlooking. And you made the good point when you said a lot of us think because we say I do, or because we agree to being committed, that automatically makes us best friends. It doesn't.
It doesn't.
Because it does is give us labels and titles, but we're still separated in what we desire. So that's why it's key to know exactly what are you into? What are some of the things you like? And listen when they're telling you, listen to see if that falls in your realm. Because if not, you'll find your person having a whole entirely different other world that they consider fun from yours. And which will all that leads to is at one point or another, that person being at home lonely, you being at home lonely, because they're gonna be going out and they're gonna want to have their time, and you're gonna want to go have your time or stay home, and it's gonna be separation. So it's like that because you haven't discovered our true connective points. And we need to say, look, how aligned are we? Do we really like the same things or similar things? Do we enjoy each other's company, or are we just faking because we're attracted to each other? You know.
So let me add this last piece to this, and it's something that I think is going to. It's probably not going to be the best thing that you hear today, but it is the best thing that you will hear today. I guarantee you, because it's going to challenge you. So the thing that I want to propose, and I know you were saying about us in terms of being friends, liking the same things, or at least having 2 things to share with one another. I would actually challenge that and say there are going to be some things that you might not necessarily like to do with your husband or your wife.
For sure.
But you should stretch yourself. And not allow yourself to remain comfortable in your comfort zone, but stretch yourself outside of your comfort zone because your person is interested in it. I'll give you a perfect example. And I'm talking about me.
All right.
Y'all know me. I'm an introvert. I'm an introvert all day. You know what I'm saying? I don't mind being by myself.
You like it solitude.
I can be by myself all day long. And I'm cool. I'm good. And my wife knows this. She knows this about me. Now, when we first started dating, there were some things that happened that made us go, ooh, let's take a breath. But she understood how I am as a person in terms of my personality makeup. Okay, fine, good. So a couple of weeks, maybe about a month ago, she got an invitation to go to one of her friends' party or whatever like that. And she said to me maybe a couple of weeks ahead of time, because she knows
you need preparation.
I need prep time. And even then, if I was going to go with her, she was already kind of like, well, you don't have to go. If you want to go, you don't have to go, or whatever like that. Blah, 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 blah. Pretty much letting me off the hook. She's letting me off the hook. But I am thinking to myself, well, I'm not doing anything that day. Now I had some stuff that was happening that weekend. And I could have, if I really wanted to, I could have said, well, you know what, this kind of like, I need to focus on this. I need to get this done. So I'm kind of like, I need to kind of like pull back from that. She would have understood. That would have been fine. But I, who loves being with my wife, enjoys being in her company, I was like, okay, you know what? Let's go. I'm going to go. And now it took me a couple of weeks to actually say that I was gonna go. Lord have mercy. It was like the week of, and I finally said, yeah, I'm gonna go. Without that question, that's fine. So,
Yeah.
and I knew that it was going to be a bunch of people that were going to be there, people that I don't know. Now, if you don't know anything about introverts, you already know that introverts don't like being around people that they don't know.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't like being around people that I don't know. Now, I can venture out
Yeah.
into the unknown, you know what I'm saying? And I would prefer doing it with somebody, but if I don't have anybody, then I'll go. Otherwise, I ain't going nowhere.
All right.
But there was a whole bunch of people there that I didn't know. We get
Okay.
there or whatever like that, her friends having a party, and then some things happen to the point where
You got uncomfortable.
well, no, I was fine. I was okay.
Yeah.
I found me a wall.
All right.
And I was a wallflower. That's what I was doing.
Right.
Maria was standing right there, and I was the wallflower. So now, we there. Hey, how you doing? Nice to meet you. Blah blah blah. Exchanging pleasantries or what have you, or whatever like that. And so we're standing around. And me and Maria were talking to each other like, okay, what's going on? Because the party was supposed to start at a certain particular point in time. We had passed that time. We had actually gone 40 minutes over the time that it was supposed to start. And Maria was like, you know what? We can bounce. We can go. We can get up out of here. Let's go somewhere.
Last thing she could have said to you.
Right.
Yeah.
I was like,
yeah.
we can go, bro. We can go.
Right.
So we got up out of there. And here's the thing, though. So even in that whole scenario, with me stretching myself out of my comfort zone, going to a place that I did not know anybody, standing there for 45 minutes plus, waiting on something to happen that did not happen, as long as I was with her, I was good.
Mm-hmm.
She made it worthwhile. And she was like, well, let's go find some. Let's go to Red Lobster. Let's eat. Let's go or whatever like that. And we had a good time. It was an impromptu date night. I was like, this is cool. You know what I'm saying? Because it's with the person that I enjoy being with. What am I trying to say? What I'm trying to say is this, that often we miss moments that are moments that will best benefit the relationship, all because we want to remain in our comfort zone. Yeah. But if you take a moment and be uncomfortable for the sake of the person that you're with, I guarantee you it'll be worthwhile. That's all I really wanted to say.
Man, that's some good stuff. I think the takeaway from that was she probably was more so overwhelmed with the appreciation that you decided to step out of your comfort zone and go with her. So it just, even though she wanted to go to the party, but when it wasn't popping off, she was like, we can bounce. But she was probably just glad that, hey, he came, so let's just make a good night of it anyway.
Right. So here's the other part of the story that I didn't tell you, and we're going to move on from this point. The other part of the story was, this was a girlfriend's party. It wasn't
her girlfriend's party?
It was just her girlfriend's.
Okay, got it.
And I'm the odd black guy. Standing there looking stuck. You know what I'm saying? I was like, there was one other guy that was there, but it was mostly women. And I was like, we both started laughing. I was like, oh my God.
This is awkward.
Of course, at that point, I wanted to leave. I wanted to leave then. But we had to wait. You know what I'm saying? So, but that was it. But it was, again, my whole point to telling this story is that it was worthwhile me coming out of my comfort zone to be there with my wife who wanted me to be there. And in the end, we ended up having a good night that night. Going out to dinner and eating and just talking and laughing with each other. That was it. That's what friends do. That's what friends do. That's my point.
You know what else we can, before we shift to the next thing, which will be full. But anyway, friends, the best way to approach friendship in the confounds of love is to be friendship when you approach it. Yeah. For me, if I'm honest, when I find myself in a relationship, to me, if I've gotten to the point of being in a relationship, we friends. Because typically I'm friendly. So I'm going to either pull that out of you that I think is going to work for us, or we not going to connect on that level. If I'm not connecting to you on that level, it's because I don't see the friendship perspective of it. But if I see the friendship of it, we can connect. But some people, unfortunately, you could want friendship But some people you'll find when you come to meet certain people, some people just want you to oblige the things they want you to do. And whether it means to go here, do this, celebrate this. And none of those things have to do with the friendship. And it's the friendship what gets you around those things if you're not able to do them.
Right.
Now you try telling somebody that you're not going to go to the party, Adam, and there's no friendship there. Oh, you know, it's not going to work because you don't put me first. You're like, oh,
right.
And so you got to know what you're working with in your situation. So if you want the friendship, approach it as a friend, and it helps the relationship sort of blossom in a particular way.
Yeah.
So, all right, now this is when people are going to say, what do you mean about this one? Foe, F-O-E. Foe is basically, as in our terms today you hear in the streets, your foe is typically referred to as the ops, the opposition, right? Okay. And so you're saying to yourself, well, why do we get in relationship or marry someone considered opposition? Oh. Well, guess what? It happens every day. And so let me say this. A foe is going to remain in your life for as long as it takes to overthrow you.
Jeez.
See, a foe will see you as an opportunity to be with, whether in relationship or marriage. Okay. You have something they want, or you have an allegiance, you have a platform, or you have an area that they covet. Mm-hmm. So to them, it's worth draining you of all of those things they need to get to where they want to be by being with you long enough to overthrow you. You understand what I'm saying? And this is why sometimes we see some of these movies and it starts out as love, and then next thing, or it looks like love, and then in the end, it just turns into, I got what I wanted from you, and now this is more so an arrangement until we dissolve, right? And so the deep part about this is a lot of people don't understand what that faux concept is like. Faux concept is not reciprocal, it's competitive.
Wow.
You with someone who you tell them, babe, I got a raise today. Or you know what, they told me that probably next week I'm being considered too. You're like,
coincidentally
celebrate this today. But yeah, so it's competitive. It is laced with so much hate that you call yourself looking nice one day. You know what? I mean, it's okay. I probably wouldn't wear that with that, but you do what you do to make yourself feel comfortable. You just like, this isn't feeling good. So you just like, I'm telling you, Adam, I have been with foes. Make no mistake about it. People that want to be around you for whatever reason, but it's not you, right? It's not entirely you. They may like some aspects of you, but they're around you for greater things that they're looking to get from you, to use against you, or to overthrow you with. So you have to be wise enough when you see it to say, this doesn't feel like, peel the onions back. A foe is opposition. So is most of our dealings close-knitted, reciprocal, or is it distant and opposing?
Yeah.
And you got to be honest with yourself.
Yeah.
This relationship is more opposing than it is close.
Right.
And you got to be honest and say close. Close means we can fuss and fight and the person still say, but what we going to eat after it's over? But if it's left with a disposition of, and it's looking at you like they can't stand you, you better pay attention to that, because that's a serious thing. Yeah. And to be with the person that's a foe, think of it this way. A foe is not going to, you would think as somebody being your spouse, Adam, use your example.
Yeah.
If your spouse saw something that she thought would maybe be detrimental to her husband if he partook or if he spent his money on it or whatever, she's going to say, well, honey, I don't know if that's probably wise. I think we should really take a step back and think about this.
Right.
And even though you may want to be like, are you sure I really like it? She's gonna be like, no, trust me, we need to wait. And if she's spiritual, we need to pray about it.
Right.
But
right.
As somebody that is your foe, they want to see you get entangled.
Wow.
So you like that Benz, you should get it. It's really nice. They don't care nothing about what the finance is going to look like, how the bills are going to level out.
Right.
Wind yourself up, because what I want is over there. So what you do with your resources don't matter to me. I'm looking for information. I'm looking for connections, avenues, and I'm looking to get to a place that I can conquer who you are. I want to conquer you so I can feel okay stepping over you. That's I'm telling you what this world is. And so you gotta pay attention. Even in love making, you can identify your foe. Because the foe, okay, all right.
No, go ahead. You might as well. You already started it. You gotta finish it.
Even in love making, the foe don't care nothing about how you feel. Wow. It's all about how they feel. And a foe will create their own situation in the room. We ain't talking about no toys. I'm talking about with you. They will zone away, get what they need, and don't care nothing about you, because it's not about you. It's about them. And it's a loving relationship is reciprocal. You're gonna make sure you good to me. I want to be good to you. You always this for me. I want to be that to you. It's back and forth. But when you feel it totally being one-sided, there is no friendship. There is no relationship. There is no blessing. This is a foe. Yeah. And you need to really pay attention to it and be like, look, this is harder than what it needs to be. Like this couldn't, especially at certain age ranges. Like we understand immaturity and different things at certain phases in life, but at certain points, when it gets to be really hard, it's not because there needs to be a clear understanding. It's because it's not aligning, and somebody needs to accept it. It don't align, and it's just the bottom line. We spinning wheels. We're wasting time. It don't work. Right. And so it don't feel good, and separation doesn't feel good, but it's better for you on the other side, right? Rather than dragging it out with a foe that don't care nothing about you. Right. Yeah. When you drag out something with the foe, and at the end of it, the foe decides it's enough and the game is over. Oh, you're really gonna go through it, because not only have they left, but they left you emotionally depleted. Wow. So now you're really in a bad place. Yeah. So,
yeah. You know, it's interesting. And I was even kind of thinking about, not to bring this up again, but I was thinking about what you were talking about at the beginning of this show in terms of the people that lost their lives as a result of the rejected person literally taking their anger out on these people. Sure. And those you would absolutely, definitely, without a doubt, categorize them as being foes. And so my question would be in regards to that, I guess, what are we missing to be able to identify a foe from a friend? Because often they look the same. So often they sound the same, and sometimes we are so enamored with how they look, and not just how they look, but what we want and what we think we see with this person in terms of how they
the roles they feel.
Yeah. And I think sometimes because of the fact that we want what we want, when we want it, how we want it, we kind of bypass Lord have mercy. We bypass the obvious signals because we want immediate satisfaction. Yeah. And so sometimes I think we need to take a step back from the person that we're with and really begin to identify that what they said wasn't completely right. That what they did not really help the situation. How they treated me, and not only how they treated me, but here's the real key to really seeing this. How they treat other people when they're with you is a clear indication of where you're going with your relationship, whether or not they are actually for you or against you. Now, I can't say that I've ever been with a foe,
Yeah.
I've been,
That
I've
you
been
knew of. That you knew of.
that I knew of.
That you knew of. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
and I just want to thank God that it didn't get that far. Hello, somebody.
Yeah.
I want to thank God that He shut that door.
Yeah. But you know
but
what?
here-
Oh,
what?
go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead. No,
No,
go ahead.
go ahead.
No, I was going to say, to answer your question, how do you have an idea of separating the foe from the friend? Is the more in real time of acceptance you can be in the relationship, the more trusting to what you have, you're closer to the friendship. The more in denial of the relationship you are, the more closer you are to the foe.
Yeah.
So what I mean is, when you're the person that you know, like when you're the person that's full of excuses for that person, you know, if you didn't stand in the way of the light, if you didn't stand in the way of the light, it would just, I mean, the darkness would illuminate on what's behind you, right? Wow. But you, because you're determined to be there and block it and defend it. Well, no, that's not what she meant. No, she did. No, she does love me, right? She didn't do that for that reason, or he didn't do that. The more in denial we are, we're covering up the fact that we're loving in opposition.
Okay.
We're not loving somebody that's our friend. We're loving someone that's basically making a fool of us. Right. And we are trying to defend the foolishness because there are some things about them that we like. Look, a foe can still lay there and cuddle with you. A foe can still have sex with you. A foe can sit at the table and eat your lobster and crab legs with you. Right. Still, the foe can get dressed up and look nice and go right to the little comedy club with you. Right. But all along, they sitting up there, stupid comedy club. I don't even know why we here. Can I leave? Please. You know, everything is counteracting the relationship. Yeah. They tell their friends, and the friends get tired of them acting like the opposition. They're like, well, girl, why are you still there? Right. Because of this. Yeah. I get this from him, or I like this, so I'm only here for this. But he or she gets on my nerves. Yeah. So ultimately, the foe is wasting their time, but I don't think they look at it as a waste of time because there is an agenda attached to it. Yeah. But again, all of us can take inventory to be honest with ourselves, to know whether or not the person with us is closer to friendship or closer to a foe. We know what that feels like. We just don't all tell people and be honest, but you can even tell, even in arguments or disagreements, when that don't seem like we were trying to reach a resolve. It's like a beating. Like it's a difference. It doesn't feel like somebody was wanting to get to something to fix it. It feels like if you pull your shirt off, you got some lashes on there. Because it just felt like a beating. So you got to know, you got to be wise enough to know when you're with somebody, is this healthy or is this some old foolishness? You know?
Real talk. Yeah. No, that's real. Yeah. I mean, like I said, I haven't been in that type of relationship. I mean, there have been some times when it's been a little, I guess, contested, and even to the point where I had to go back and say, that's what you just said wasn't right. that wasn't right.
That didn't sound right. That didn't feel right.
Sound right. And here's the thing, though. So they might have had good intentions, but that's not the way it came off. And so I had to go, this might not be the right one. Yeah. Because what you're saying is obviously what's in your heart to say. Yeah. And I can't sit here and I can't change your mind about it. You have to want to change your mind about it. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? As much as I try to tell you this is not the way that it is, you have to say, okay, let me accept that and change my mind and move in a different direction. But if you continue to stay there and you continue to pursue that particular course, what more can you possibly do? There's nothing else you could possibly do with that. You have to move on. And so that's why I'm saying that it's important for us to be able to identify the foes and distinguish them from the friends, so that we don't confuse the two. Because again, sometimes we confuse.
It can get a little murky in there.
Yeah, sometimes we gravitate toward the foes and we reject the friends.
Yeah. Oh,
because
that's
we don't know how to identify or distinguish between the two, because
or
they obviously should have some defining characteristics that make them different from one another. But again, if we mash them all together, how do we distinguish?
But and here's what makes the foe attractive. The
Hmm.
foe brings drama. The foe keeps the relationship from being boring.
Right.
I'm telling you,
I need some excitement.
the foe adds that dysfunction that some of us don't want to admit that we need as gasoline.
Right.
We don't want to admit that we need some drama. They're just too nice. Well, you're gonna get a foe then. The foe ain't gonna be nice, right? But if you can't appreciate the friendship, you get the foe-ship.
Yeah.
Basically, well, you can't appreciate that. So that's what's it. Either the friendship or the foe-ship.
Right.
So, but one of the two, most of us are living in one of them, the friendship or the foe-ship. We don't get it. Now, here's the last one. The foolship. All right. The foolship, Adam. Okay, here's the fool's thing. How do we know if we're being seen as a fool? Now, I'm going to go on record to say, I believe we even know that, Adam. We know when we be seen as a fool. We just like the fooler, so we deal with it. But the point is, a fool will remain in your life. A fool will remain in your life as long as it is opportunistically feasible for them. If they benefit from you, if you are paying their house note, you doing this for them, you're doing that for them. Oh, I have no reason to leave, right? I don't have to produce. I can be here for free. But it may not always be money, but I mean, a fool will it's being with the person that sees you as a fool is a relationship with no guardrails, no fences. It's just wide open. I don't care what you do over there as long as you do this over here for me, right? As long as I'm benefiting, I'll remain here. But if I'm not benefiting, our relationship becomes a prepaid relationship with no more minutes. I'm out. Prepaid with but if you're beneficial to me, I will stay and deal with it. And so here's the thing. People that see you as a fool, they don't care nothing about your well-being. You're not going to hear them say nothing about your health. Did you do this? How are you eating? None of that matters to them. They don't care about your budget, your bills. They don't. They think that you're so married to the image of them and how they look or whatever they have. They feel you're willing to risk it all, and so. People, you got to look at it like this. When being with someone who sees you as a fool, is like your life slowly becomes one big risk. All things about your life is unsettled, unstable, and you keep saying to yourself, well, I paid my Visa bill on time not too long ago, but when you counted all up the cost, but when Kevin came in my life, I got behind 90 days. You're thinking about everything about your life and how off kilter it becomes. And you begin to say, look, this is not right. And so, something I had forgot to add really quickly, I go back to the foe, an important part. When you're with someone that is considering you that looks at you like a foe, your life will be completely on fire. You'll smell that after smell from the burn. When a house burned down, you smell that smell. You'll smell the smoke in your clothes. And the person that's closest to you don't have no smoke on them. Everybody else around you, your family is offended, your children is offended, you're hurt, and they sitting there like, what happened? You got the matches in your pocket. That's what happened. You conspired all of this foolishness as a foe, and that's why. So the foe is smart enough to burn everything and back up. They burn up everything and back up, and so they don't get the rent experience of the smell. You do, and everybody that you care about. But them, no, they're gonna do that, and that's that. But like you said, now switching back to the fool. Fools are like a tin bucket that's easily overflowed. You ever notice how there's a big leak in the ceiling and you put a bucket right there, and that bucket will last. It'll last, and then if you go away from it too long, you come back and it's all over the floor. The bucket is full and it's all over the floor. Okay. So what am I saying? When somebody looks at you like a fool, you become an endless repository of whatever. All they're doing is dumping it all on you and expecting you to handle it and looking at you like, well, that's what fools do. They handle it.
Wow.
Basically, you're a fool, so handle it. Wow. And so the way you overturn the look of the fool is you got to do a hard cut and pivot. When you know that you being a fool, you will confuse the fooler when you just one day say, look, I'm not doing that.
Right.
It's dumb of you to think I will keep on doing it.
Right.
Bam. Cut. I don't want to do this with you. I don't want to do this, blah, blah, blah. But if you continue to smile and still do what the fooler wants you to do, you will forever remain the fool.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So yeah.
No, yeah. And again, I've been fortunate enough not to have been in any type of relationship where I was taken as a fool. You gotta think about that for me. Now, here's the thing though. So I don't necessarily think that I was the fool, but they might have seen me as the fool. And here's the reason why I say that is because, like you said, as the fool, you continue to do what you do.
Yeah.
While all along they benefit from what you do. You know what I'm saying? And again, I got to go back to what I said in terms of the foe. Being able to have the capacity to be able to discern and be able to really hone in on, okay, how do you really see me? Because here's the thing, here's one of the telltale signs that we can that helps us to know how they see us. We'll know how they see us by how they treat us.
Basically. That's it.
And if you're treating me in a certain way and handling me in a certain fashion or mishandling me in a certain fashion, mistreating me in a certain fashion, that's going to be a clear indicator to me as to how you see me. Because if you value me, you just don't treat me any old kind of way. If you really find worth in who I am as a person, you just don't allow all these things to happen without us having some type of communication with one another. Sure. At some point in time, if I am of value to you in your life, and I'm not talking about an opportunistic value, I'm talking about a value that benefits to both of us, then we both receive the benefit of it.
Not just one-sided.
Exactly. And so I think, again, it's important for us, especially when we're in the beginning stages of the relationship, that we take a very comprehensive, critical assessment of how they actually see us and what are the telltale signs in terms of how they're treating us. You know what I'm saying? And really begin to understand, okay, if you really see me as valuable, you don't treat me as invaluable.
Yeah, no, that's it. If you see me like that's right. If somebody sees you in a way that's worthy of something positive, they're going to treat you that way. And you, like I said, you'll feel it. You'll feel it when you'll feel like, put it like this. A relationship where someone sees you as a fool or a foe, it only goes where they want it to go.
Right.
It's never going to go where you want it to go, because there should be a us vision when you're not looked at as a fool or a foe. Yeah. If you're looked at as a friend or a blessing, there's a mutual vision. But when it's a one-sided vision to only what they want, it's either fool or foe, right? And so you have to be, like you say, pull back your desires sometimes from what you may call yourself wanting to do, and just pull back and be like, yeah, I know I like this, and I know this is beneficial, but this isn't positive, and I'm just not going to do it. You know what I mean? And go from there, you know?
Yeah, and that's basically it, man. So it's just important that we really, you know, uh, that we're really honest with our perspectives of one another,
Yeah.
and that in that honesty, we find the ability to be able to authentically and genuinely communicate that to one another.
Mm.
It's I think it's important that we say to one another in a
Yeah.
way that helps the other person understand how we see each other. That
Yeah.
I'm not operating under the assumption of, there's no
Yeah.
presupposition here. I'm
Yeah.
operating off of factual information because this is what you have shared with me. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So that I understand where we are and where we're going
Yeah.
and what we're doing. And if I need to make a cut and a pivot, you're going to know. You're not
Yeah.
going to have to wonder about it. You know what I'm
And
saying?
here's another big thing. How someone sees you has a lot to do to what they expose in front of you. So this is what I mean.
Mm.
If you're a person in a relationship with someone that you drink and the person doesn't, like let's just say, Adam, you was not married, but you was in a relationship, but you yourself, you're like, well, I don't drink. Here comes this woman that drinks, right? She's with you, she drinks, but she hides the fact that she, like, you'll go out to eat with her, but she'll never drink or never do anything around you. Look, she smoked weed, but she'll never smoke weed around you.
Okay.
She curses, or he or she curses. They won't curse around you.
Right.
So those are the recipes for separate lives. If
Yep.
you can't live your truth in front of me,
In front of them, yeah.
you prefer to have a separate life.
Right.
Because the fact that you think he or she is not acceptable of your life says you're not even willing to allow them the chance, give them a chance to see how this works. Let the person who you think may be detested by your actions, give them a chance, but don't practice having a double life.
Right.
Because like I said, if you have a different way of looking at fun, a lot of times it's because you haven't exposed your fun.
Right.
You haven't exposed what you see as fun.
Right.
So a person you can't expect someone to match up with you in a situation where you haven't been honest with them about what you really like or what you're into.
Yeah.
Heck, even intimately, people don't read people's mind, as you always say, Adam.
They don't.
And if somebody has a whole different sprawl of a lifestyle intimately that they like, well, guess what? Nobody is reading some kind of reading your life manual without you telling them.
Right.
You gotta be able to speak what it is you're into if you feel like you want that experience with that person. Other than if you don't, guess what we're gonna do? We're gonna go to places where we know it is.
Right.
That's what's gonna happen. If you don't do it and I don't tell you that I like it, I'm gonna go over there because I know they know what I like.
Right.
And so that's how you you get around those things, by just being forthcoming and being honest, and give you people a chance to see whether or not your truth aligns with their truth.
Right.
Because that's the best relationships, when truths align, whether they're good, bad, or indifferent. But we align because we put it out there.
Right.
If you don't put it out there, again, you make way for a double life, which make ways for a fool or a fuck.
Yeah.
Bottom line. All right.
Yeah. Real talk.
So we appreciate you guys today for definitely tuning in. I know this was like a different type of topic, but sometimes we have to break these things down and really get to the heart of the matter, because a lot of us, honestly, are in situations we have no clue how the person really sees us. And so I would encourage people to have these conversations and ask them, how do you see me? I'm just curious the way you see me. Do you see me like this? Do you see me as a blessing? And you may get some honesty and you may not, but at least people know that you're bold enough to ask, right? You may not get the truth. They might be like, oh, you the best thing since sliced bread, and go on the phone, tell their friend that you asked them. But nonetheless, guess what? You asked. So, but some people, if they care about what you think about how they feel, they may feel complimented that you even asked. Right. So let's talk about it. There is something I wanted to tell you. So let me go. I'm glad you opened the door.
Right.
So that makes for good communication. But at least Find out. Don't just assume that everything is gravy, because 9 times out of 10, when you're with another person and you're both living life out together, people take all sorts of thoughts in that you have no idea. So you only gonna know until you ask them and find out.
Right. Real talk.
Because Maria said, Adam, you didn't even know that. And Maria told me that if Adam didn't go to the party, it was gonna be on. No, I'm just
See, why'd you start mess? Why you stop messing?
No, I'm kidding. She gonna come in the comments.
She gonna come in the
comments.
She gonna fly down to Dallas and she gonna come looking for you, bro.
Nah, but anyway, no, we appreciate y'all. We'll be here next week, same time. Should anything, as usual, if we have times that things offset, we'll notify you of a difference. But next week it should be 4:30, all things PM Central Standard Time. We'll be back here same time.
Yep.
And we appreciate y'all as usual. And we will see you guys soon.
Maybe not. Maybe not.
Maybe not. Hold on. Let's see. Yeah, maybe we could do something crazy.
About to mess up.
All right, Adam, it's your turn for Unplugged.
Well, listen, if they don't see you the way that you want to be seen, get out of Dodge. Just roll out. Pack up your stuff and just grow. Or better yet, if they got a car and they got your clothes in their house, take the clothes out. About to do way back down on this joint.
Like they clothes. That stuff out there. You brought up a good point, Adam. I don't even think a lot of people are aware of how they want to be seen. I think we are so enamored with, I just want to be loved. Yeah. It don't matter how I'm seen. As long as you're present, as long as you're around, as long as you say you want to be here, I'm good. But we need to be concerned with how we want to be seen. Put it that way. We need to be concerned with how we want to be seen. Yeah,
I believe that, because the fact that we are present, the fact that we are present doesn't necessarily mean that they actually see us.
Ooh, yeah, they're just present.
And that's just the truth. You're present. You know what I'm saying? And I think it's important that if we are going to be present in each other's lives, that we are actually seeing that I see you and that you see me. Hence the word intimacy.
Wow.
Intimacy.
Yeah, that's it.
I'm borrowing that from somebody else, but I'm just saying that the presence is there, absolutely. But I need to see you. I was gonna say something, but I don't know if I should say this. So God is omnipresent.
Okay.
But have you ever seen him?
Wow.
And that's not to say that he's not there, because he absolutely is there.
Yeah.
But if my wife, who I can see, is present and I don't see her,
then that's a problem.
That's a serious issue. That's a problem. So you need to be present, absolutely, but you need to be able to see them. You know what I'm saying?
You know what's so crazy? While you're saying that, think about your patient. Think about how seriously we look at it.
Yeah.
You ever see people you work with? They'd be like, I am calling HR. Something is off. But we'll pay close attention to our money, but not to our life.
Ooh.
And not how we're being seen. Like you need to look at your life the way you're being seen, or not the way you look at your check that's wrong.
Okay.
So, and look at those, because we don't play with our money, but we
Yeah.
play with our life, right?
Right.
So we need to say to yourself, if somebody is like, I need to really know how this person sees me, because 9 times out of 10, it's going to govern where we do or do not go.
True.
Depending on what they see from me. But
Yeah.
anyway,
Real talk.
all right. Anyway, people, next time we will holler at y'all, and y'all be safe out there. Stay out the madness in the streets, and don't get caught up by the YNs. Holla.